The sponsor for today's episode is Immortal Vision Studios, a collaborative space that promotes creativity through all mediums, including photography, video production, graphic design, and web development. Located in Philadelphia, this studio is one for the community. To follow their journey and book your sessions, head over to their Instagram at Immortal Vision Studio, or check out their website, immortalvisionstudio.com. Now, welcome back to episode 6 of I Took the Risk. I'm your host, Corey Bishop, and this episode is going to feature CJ Wolfe, the founder of Immortal Vision Studio. Let's get into the episode. So why don't you tell us a little bit about CJ?
Yeah, so CJ is a very interesting person.
Okay.
Started as a basketball player, then went into finance, but that whole time was always a creator. I graduated college in 2019, went straight into the financial world as a financial advisor, and I was still picking back to my creativity. I was traveling during the pandemic. I was getting different jobs to do for photography, videography, and mostly with athletes and doing like brand collaborations. During the pandemic, a lot of brands were kind of stagnant a little bit on trying to get their content up. So I was that guy that was bringing refreshing ideas and bringing that partnership together. I just took the risk, as like your podcast is. I just took the risk to kind of leave the financial industry and bet on myself to become a full-time creative entrepreneur. And it was like one of the best decisions I ever made.
Okay. Yeah, man, I think the pandemic forced a lot of people to do something that they weren't comfortable with and put people in positions that they weren't used to being in. So that's dope, man. And then what you have in a finance background, I look at that kind of like as in education, like you'll always have something like that because people always need their money managed. So that's key, and I appreciated what you have in that background. I know that helped spring you into your entrepreneurial state, and that way you didn't have to hire somebody to come do your finances for you. You already had that on lock. So kind of with photography being your passion, what's your favorite kind of camera to use? I know Sony, Nikon, Canon. Which one is yours?
Yeah, I started out on a Canon.
Okay.
In college, when my friend let me hold her camera, it was a Canon. I just stuck with that. And when I learned about credit and things like that in college, I got my first credit line at Best Buy, and I said, just give me the Canon.
Okay.
And then he got me the 5D Mark III. And I still shoot with that today, kind of loyal to it. But when I go to, of course, different projects and different budgets and things like that, I get something else. But for video, I love the Sony.
Okay.
I love the Sony. So I'm kind of like a dual type of person. If I'm doing photos, I do the Canon. If I'm doing video, I do the Sony. It's kind of all over the place, but that's just my style, how I like it, yeah.
Everybody has their own niche. Could you kind of just tap into, talking about the photography side, like, how important that is to, the entrepreneurs that want to be photographers?
Yeah. You definitely have to be strategic on your marketing. I was a communications major, minor in marketing.
Okay.
So I use a lot of my marketing tactics when I'm doing photography. It's not more so, okay, if I take this picture, I post it on Instagram, how many likes can I get? I'm more so thinking from a business aspect on, if I take this photo, how can I use it for business marketing? And that's how I take a lot of my photos and my vision before I even go on to the job. So I do a lot of research on the professional that I'm doing. I know my favorite one is iconic Allen Iverson photo. And he has a Phillies hat on, like the fitted hats.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, he's a Philly guy. He's like signing the basketball, and you can see the P on the hat with the number 3 and things like that. So I just think of different concepts that I can implement into the photo, but make it very unique and iconic by not putting kind of a lot of Photoshop stuff in it. So I look at myself as a more business marketing photographer, if that's a thing, rather than the creativity part of it. A lot of my shoots are natural light. I just recently started getting into light when I opened up the studio because I had to relate to other photographers that like the light. So my advice to the photographer that's getting into photography or that's trying to find out how they can leverage their career in photography or become full-time is just to find out your niche. And it took me about 3 years to figure it out. Maybe I have a good friend of mine, they just love shooting like maternity shots and babies, and that's their niche. So there's no niche that's right or wrong. It's just what feels best for you and what comes to you, and you can go full force with that.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely, man. Finding what's right and what's best for you in the space, especially with photography being a wide range, but full of people that love to take pictures or shoot pictures. I don't want to say take pictures, because as crowded as the industry can be, finding your niches might not be your niche, might not be somebody else's niche. So it's kind of transitioning to a little bit and talk about the brand, Immortal Vision Studios. What's the story behind it?
Yeah. So I always wanted something like I was doing in photography. I always wanted something that will show photography, but also can relate to, I like to call it, real life things. And Immortal is legendary to me. Like, you never dying. No one's ever forgetting about you, and you just here to stay, no matter what. And even your vision, I always picture myself I always knew I was going to be an entrepreneur. I probably didn't know how I was going to get there. I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know if it was going to be in finance. I didn't know if it was going to be in the music industry. I didn't know, but I knew I had a vision, and I knew it wasn't going to die, wherever I took it. So I wanted to connect that, my personal self as being a founder and a CEO, to others, and giving them that courage and empowering them and inspiring them to become immortal. And with that is not even just your artwork. Like, we love those iconic photos. I love those iconic photos that I can give to my kids or my grandchildren, and they say, "Oh yeah, Allen Iverson or Meek Mill or Little Uzi." I remember them. But keeping that vision on life, keeping the vision on entrepreneurship, right? No matter what comes in the way, no matter how many times you fall, how hard you fall, just get back up, because your vision is immortal. So I always like to tell people when they come inside the studio, make your vision immortal if it's not already. And that's like a good way to empower them and inspire them to anything's possible, as long as I work hard, be strategic, and just be determined.
Yeah, that's key, man, to determination, working hard. Because as an entrepreneur, you got to do everything. You got to be the CEO, and you got to be the janitor. You got to be the promoter. You got to do all these things. So if you're not working hard, then you're not really tapping into your true entrepreneurship. I think that's very key. Those are some good words. So what you have in the space in Philly, where you from, homegrown, in the community, how important was it to, one, build it or put your space in the community, and two, sustain it in your community?
Yeah, definitely. It was like super huge to put it in Fourth and Allegheny. It's a drug opioid in that area. A lot of minorities in that area. So I just wanted to put it somewhere where it gave people hope at the end of the day. People can come in there and they can feel inspired to create. I'm in the community. I'm at the studio. We had our Immortal community weekend, our first one. Even though we've been open for 9 months, it was very important to me as something where we give back. And the sponsors, shout out to them. They did extremely well on providing things for us, and making everyone feel comfortable, and even giving like lessons and educating people. But even if they didn't come through, we was going to have it, regardless. So I'm big on giving back, and I'm big on, most importantly, giving hope. If I can do it, you can do it. And if others before me that did it and that's doing it, we all can do it. So it was super important to me to place our studio in the heart of, North Philadelphia, in the Kensington area. Looking to expand, of course, but we are not looking to go on the outskirts of Philadelphia. We want to stay Philadelphia homegrown.
That's dope, man. I think you touched on, or you said something very important with hope. That's a very key element to I feel like being an entrepreneur, because you're not always gonna have your homie or your friend behind you or next to you, like, yo, like, I'm supporting you. I'm gonna do this for you. I'm gonna help you. Nah, like, you gotta have hope in yourself. You gotta believe in yourself before anybody else will. So if you have that hope, you'll be able to tap into whatever it is you need, because at the end of the day, nobody's gonna be there for you but you, because it's your business.
Definitely, definitely. And to add on to that, I know how I feel. I just have extreme big faith. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me,
Absolutely.
right? So I know how it.
4:13,
Yes,
right?
sir. Yes, sir. So I know how it feels to reach out to photographers when you just started, and my journey when I started in 2017. Like, hey, what camera should I use? Hey, what lens should I get? Hey, what program should I edit on? The questions I look back at now and it's like second nature that I tell people without even charging them or anything like that. And I know how I feel to be left on scene on the DMs. I know how I feel to meet someone at a concert and they say, hey, take my number down, we can connect, network, and I hit them up and it's nothing. Like, I definitely know how I feel to feel lonely in the part of building stuff up, And so my mission is to bridge that gap, to let others, inspiring content creators, inspiring photographers, or even if you don't, it's just a hobby, to educate them and to give them that hope that, look, I'm with you, I know how I feel, I was in your shoes, how can I help?
Absolutely.
And that's our motto and that's our mission with the studio, help one creator at a time.
Yeah, definitely. That's a big piece of building a community. You're having a community. It takes a village. Not one person's going to be able to do it by themselves. That's big, man. That's big. So you kind of touched on it a little bit with the in the beginning with your finance and background in finance, and when you resigned from the finance field, how did you get there to be able to not only manage your dreams and want to have a studio or be an entrepreneur, but how did you manage that transition to getting to that point?
Yeah, I'm a person that I like to call it, you take, you adapt, and you create. So when I was at the job, I was taking the knowledge that they was giving me, right? And then I was able to adapt to the creative lane. Because I was there, I was doing like photography, video. People knew me for that, but they didn't really know me for creating fashion, like creating designs for brands or creating websites that I do now and things like that. And then I just left with all that information and I applied it to build up the studio and the agency today. So it was really being strategic. I knew, okay, this is my job. I'm wearing a suit and tie every day. By the first month, I'm making cold calls. I'm calling people, hey, do you want to invest into these stocks? Do you want this life insurance and stuff like that? I'm like, oh, this is not for me. I got to find a way out. But do it respectfully and do it with honor. Because at the end of the day, a lot of those people that I met during the financial industry, they still support me to this day with the creative. It's totally left field. When I was working, when I was showing up to work and things like that, they didn't understand what I was talking about. Creators, we got a different language. We got a different body language to us. We dress differently. So when we would spend time outside the office and stuff like that, the connection was still there, but it was still a disconnect, if that makes sense. So I was just able to adapt, learn, and get out of there respectfully in a way where I can, maintain those relationships, which is super huge. And I really tell a lot of individuals that no matter what field you are in, entrepreneurship, working 9 to 5, no matter what, treat people how you want to be treated and maintain those relationships. So that's how I was able to, manage and, finesse my way out of the financial industry. And I'm thankful that I had the experience because it taught me a lot.
Yeah.
It taught me a lot.
Yeah, definitely, man. You said something important and key of keep holding on to relationships. Some people may see, the financial field as not for them, but they will mismanage the relationship, and then long and behold, you might need that relationship that you mismanaged back now that you're trying to get yourself started, or now that you're established, you might need a sponsorship, or you might need some donations or anything like that. But they're gonna look at it as, well, you did X, Y, Z, so we're not gonna help you now.
Exactly. And when I was at the financial firm, I went over to TD Bank. And TD Bank, they didn't sponsor our community weekend, but Westfist Bank did. So I was able to talk within their language,
Yeah.
connect with the people, and it just was a different feeling when you got something in common with someone. That's just some networking one-on-one tips on having those similarities to someone and just pinpointing on those similarities to get to the common goal. And within our common goal was to help people. I had the resources in finance. I know a lot of creators need that. Who can I reach out to in my network to help make this, to give these individuals hope and empower and educate them, and most importantly, connect with them. And that's how, short story on how I was able to bridge those connections.
Nice, man. I'm big on networking, so I love to talk networking. I think that's extremely key in any field that you're in, being able to relate and talk to anybody about whatever it is that you need. So you kind of maybe touched on it a little bit with some of the connections. Who or what was most impactful in your journey to start being a entrepreneur?
Yeah, honestly, people probably won't get mad at me. We probably won't have to use this clip, but honestly, bro, it was me.
Okay.
It was me. Like my two sisters, they entrepreneurs. They got their business going. They doing their thing. But it was me. It was me. Okay, I got it. So my first roommate in college, Thomas. So totally different background. I'm this urban kid, basketball. That's all I want to do is play basketball.
Right.
And you know, in college, you got the freshman dorms. His bed is right next to mine, and totally different background than me, right? Financially, education-wise, everything like that. You know, my charter school isn't even here, and I know Thomas school, private school, they've been there for years. So it's just totally different left, right street, right? So, but that's my dude to this day.
Nice.
And he was able to put me on and open my mind to different avenues, different languages, different ways to connect with people, because it was all new to me. All I knew was basketball, and that's it, you know. And Thomas came in on a different perspective of, you know, books or different people I should meet. You know, me meeting his family really played a role to me. Going to travel to his house, you know, an hour away from Philadelphia, really meant a lot to me. That just kind of shifted my mindset. And once my mindset was open, I was open to other things. So now I'm listening to podcasts, now I'm reading books, now I'm looking at college, university a lot different. Now I'm applying myself to the class, but not just the class, the hands-on projects. And that's how I learned that, okay, I like photography. I love video production. Because we had one project in this marketing class, and it was a group project, but I was the one like, hey, I'm gonna take care of everything, I got y'all. Usually I wasn't that guy in college. I wasn't that guy. It was, okay, who want to be a leader?
Right.
Let me know if y'all need something. You know what I mean? So with that, being able to be exposed to different things and be open, I just got my inspiration from that. I'm a free-flowing guy, so it's kind of like wherever the wind takes me and wherever God calling for me to do, I do it. So it's a lot of people that inspire me through the way to become entrepreneurship, but it was more so myself, and shout out to Tom.
Okay,
he
shout
opened,
out to Tom, man.
he opened that mindset for me, for sure, for sure.
Yeah, man, listen, it's one, I'm gonna just say this, it's nothing wrong with giving yourself your own flowers. Because, you know, like I said, you're the one that's grinding, you're the one, you know, out there cleaning up, or, you know, up late night editing pictures. Everybody else just supporting you, sharing your posts and all that, but you actually doing the footwork. So it's nothing wrong with giving yourself your own flowers, man. And you said something too that was very key about exposure. I had read a quote that said expansion leads to exposure. So, you know, if you never got the chance to see that, you would have never been able to expand to where you are now. You'd have never got to meet Thomas and, you know, get to travel to his house and different things like that. So I think that's key, very, very key. The exposure part is big, because not everybody can get that, or not everybody is in a position to be able to see that in some circumstances. So what about, we talked advice a little bit, but now I want to know, for a standpoint for our viewers, if you were younger, your younger self, what advice would you give? to you? With everything that you know now, what would the advice be?
Yeah, just be your own self. Honestly, when I was a kid, I was a follower. I followed, the in crowd. Being an athlete is just, hey, I just want to play basketball. In my younger days, I was constantly traveling. I don't think I really had a weekend off due to AAU basketball, AAU practice, games, and stuff like that. But I always loved to create. I was that kid. You remember MySpace?
Yeah.
Like creating,
Yeah.
creating people MySpace page. Like,
Nice.
you're not in my top 5 or stuff like that. I'm top 1. I got Pharrell. I got Bape on there. I got the DC sneakers. I got the skinnies on. Like, I was always into like the fashion, and people was calling, "Hey, you weird," or I look at you kind of different, and you just play basketball. Like, why are you doing all this stuff? You're not a skateboarder. But it was just inspiration to me being myself. And if I was give advice to my younger self, is just be you. Don't follow the in crowd, because at the end of the day, that in crowd is not the in crowd. To be honest. So that's what I would give my younger self. Just be you.
Yeah. So also, before we wrap up, where could our viewers find you at?
Yeah, so viewers can find us on our website, immortalvisionstudio.com. We have a lot of cool stuff on there where you can book our studio, where you can get in contact with our agency, and you can also see the cool merchandise that we have and the other collaborations that we have with college athletes, and you can still see my artwork on there as well. For my personal information, cjxwolfe.com, I have a small portfolio of my pictures that I took. I took a lot of them off of Instagram due to placing them into my book. And then social media handles, CJ Wolfe, and at Immortal Vision Studio. And that's on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
Okay. All right, well, thank you. It was great having you here today. Great, insightful conversation. And we thank you for coming by, stopping by. I Took the Risk, and have a great rest of your day.
For sure. Appreciate y'all.
Yes, sir.